Thank you so much for having me here. I've been a software engineer all my life, so I'm used to being slung inside a cubicle. So I'm not very, I'm not done a lot of public speaking as such. So basically, I think what I'm going to do is, I'll highlight on the state of the misinformation industry that there is currently, we have had some associations with tech giants like Facebook, Google, etc., and what they're trying to do about it. What are the what are the strategies they're adopting and things like that, and what are the general trends in the misinformation industry, and what is that we can expect, especially with 2019 elections coming up. So, of course, oh no, I think you'll need to go back. I think this is not the first slide. You'll have to go back. Yeah, this is fine. So, what has happened over the last 3-4 weeks with more than 25 people getting killed across the country, and purely because of WhatsApp rumors. It happened in my city also. I belong from Ahmedabad, and one lady, there were 4 women who were traveling in an auto, and they were from a nomadic tribe based in Gujarat, and they were in an auto, and then one particular person stopped this auto, made them come out, and then this person, who is supposedly a history sheeter, provoked the crowd, which was already fearful because of the WhatsApp rumors that have gone around. And they attacked these 4 women, and one of them was killed. Now, the fact that these WhatsApp rumors had been going around in Gujarat, because we have a fairly large network in Gujarat. I'm also part of a civil liberties organization called Jan Sangharsh Manch. Jan Sangharsh Manch has worked on all the fake encounter cases that happened in Gujarat, and prior to that, the Gujarat riot cases. So we have a fairly large activist network. So we got these rumors much before, and before, at least about 4 days before this person was lynched on the streets of Ahmedabad, we had put out a story stating that these rumors are going around, and prior to that we had put out 2 more stories. One, Maharashtra, and this was much before Dhule happened, that there are rumors in Marathi that are going around, and before that there were rumors which were targeting Jharkhand and Bihar. So we had put out all these stories out on alt news. Unfortunately, at least in the case of Gujarat, I can say quite confidently that even though we had put out a story that these rumors are already out there, nothing was done about it. I mean, there was a consistent build-up of fear among people, especially the lower economic strata of the population, who are the main target of these WhatsApp rumors. And it came to a point that they needed somebody to provoke them, and that one person was there to provoke them. I don't know what happened in the other cases, but at least I know the Ahmedabad case, because we met the police commissioner of Ahmedabad, and he told us that there was this one person who seemingly provoked the crowd, and then this person was lynched. That could have been averted. That is my belief, that could have been averted, because we had put out this story 4 days in advance. And if somebody can read WhatsApp, what's coming out of WhatsApp, and then they can read billboards, they can read, there are so many ways of reaching out to population, especially urban population. I can understand that, it is difficult to reach out to rural population sometimes, but at least urban population, there are so many ways of reaching out. If you can, but there was no effort made from the government. It was only a reactive effort that only once this person got killed did the policemen fan out into different areas, the constables went into different areas. At least that is the claim, that they went into different areas and then started talking to people that, these rumors are going around and you should do something about it. In fact, this effort should have been started long ago. we know what happened in Jharkhand last year when 7 people were lynched, and the nature of the rumors were essentially the same. In the present case, what is happening is that one video from Pakistan is being circulated. Now, that video was created by an NGO called Roshni, and it was supposed to be a child awareness video where I think this NGO is based in Karachi, and it was supposed to be an awareness video where they're trying to show that this is how easy it is to kidnap a child. So 2 bike-borne readers come in, they swoop upon a child, there are a bunch of kids playing, and they pick up a child, and then they go away, and then they come back and sort of hold a placard saying that, this is how easy it is to kidnap children. Now, a part of that video has been truncated, the part where the bike-borne readers come, pick up the child and go away. Just that part, just a few seconds in that video has been truncated, and that is being circulated across the country. Along with that, there's imagery, very horrific imagery that is being circulated. Again, these images are from various parts of India. Some are from Maharashtra, some are from Telangana, some are from Andhra Pradesh. Basically, people murdered, blood all around. And the central message that is being circulated in all these cases is that there are these people who do not belong from here, who are not locals. They are coming to your area, and they are going to kidnap your children and traffic the organs. That is the essential message. And I mean, at first it would seem incredible that somebody would fall for such a rumor, but people have because there is a section in our section of population, a huge section for whom the window to the world of internet is just that WhatsApp. I mean, majority of the people in here, we use internet in a variety of ways. We go to Google, we read news websites, we watch videos on YouTube, we probably go to Netflix, and we have been using it for a very long time. So we have a rather holistic view of the world of internet. We know that it is a technology which is at least 3 decades old. We know that there have been rumors on internet right since time immemorial. So this background, most of the urban middle class population has, but in case of this particular section of population, their window to the world of internet is this WhatsApp inbox. They are not watching movies on their laptops or on their, they are mostly consuming internet through their phones. And in many cases, these are these 3,000 rupees, 4,000 rupees phones with WhatsApp pre-installed. So when they start getting this message, and especially when it gets bombarded even from the relatives, from their mama, chacha, etc., from people who they have come to trust in their day-to-day life, when they start getting these messages again and again, then there is a slow buildup of fear. It is not something that happens overnight. It is a slow buildup of fear, and then eventually there's a spark, and people have been lynched. So that is the truth. I think Indian Express came out with this figures just yesterday about how it has happened all across the country. This could have been prevented, at least to a large degree, and that is my belief. This could have been prevented when what happened in Jharkhand last year, when 7 people were lynched because of these rumors, and there were proactive steps could have been taken to create short-term and long-term awareness programs and reach out. What is being done right now? Right now in multiple states, in a state of panic, the police is reaching out to citizens and telling them, no, this is not true, that is not true. That is sort of a short-term awareness program. But the government should have come up with both short-term and long-term awareness programs to tell people that these rumors are not true, do not fall for it. And I think we could have averted what we are seeing today. It's just that the people who are being attacked in most of the cases, they are nomadic tribes, whether it is in Maharashtra or Gujarat or other places. In most cases, the people who have been attacked are from the nomadic tribes. So, there are no votes to be gained, and which is why I think neither of the political parties have spoken up till, just 3 days ago, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad gave a statement, and a day before that, I think Congress party did a press conference, and in which they ended up conflating multiple issues. They mixed the cow, the the lynchings which have been happening because of the cow, the cow issue, and the lynchings because of WhatsApp rumor. And I think that was an enormous disservice what the Congress Party did to this particular issue, because those lynchings are happening from a position of hatred, disgust, a communal divide that has been created in the society, while these lynchings are happening from a position of fear. People are fearful that there's a sense of personal loss. During demonetization, there was a rumor about salt getting over, and shops in Ahmedabad were ransacked. I'm not sure about other parts of the country, but shops in Ahmedabad were ransacked purely because of just a very simple fear that they are not going to have salt. So these particular rumors have a sense of personal loss, and which is why people are acting on it. So unfortunately what happened was that people are conflating different issues. We need to sort of recognize what are the root causes of different issues, and if root causes are different, we need different solutions. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. But a question that everybody has been asking is that why are these particular set of lynchings, especially these WhatsApp related lynchings, why is that they're happening now? Why not before? Why is that we haven't seen this trend before? It is not that misinformation is a new thing. Even in 2014 elections, we saw that there were plenty of photoshopped images, videos, and so on and so forth. But these particular set of WhatsApp lynchings we did not see back then. And one of the prime reasons for that is that in the past 2 years, or past 2.5 years, these are not the latest figures. I forgot to put the 2018 figures, but in the past about 2 years, the internet consumption in India has increased by almost tenfold. So in June 2016, as a country, we were using about 200 million Gbps of data per month. I think the present figure is close to 1.8 million Gbps of data per month. So this is an unprecedented increase of 9 times. So what that means is that we have a huge section of our population who's using internet for the first time. There are these figures also where we have seen a massive increase in internet usage in rural areas, and it is easy to correlate. Yes, there have been incidences in urban areas too, like Ahmedabad had a lynching, but even in that, the population that is falling for this set of rumors. I'm not being classist here. Everybody falls for rumors. We know how much fake news go around in our family WhatsApp groups. But not everybody acts on it, because you need to have, if you have certain amount of awareness, then it is impossible to create a level of fear that you would act on it. You may fall for some political propaganda, etc., but not always do you act on it. In this specific case, people are acting on it. So because of lack of awareness, it is possible to create that amount of fear in people that people will come out on streets and start lynching, because they do not have any criticality towards this set of information. So this 22% figure, I believe, is an important figure, and it correlates with what we are seeing today, because this is the figure, this is the section of population who are using internet for the first time, who have no past history, and they are being bombarded with information, and they are treating their WhatsApp inboxes like a newspaper. Anything that comes on the WhatsApp inbox, they treat it as factual, and especially if it comes from multiple people, you would see commonly कि ये तो इतने लोगों ने भेजा है, 5, 10, 15 लोगों ने भेजा है. So that multiplicity factor affects a lot in the believability. More the people sending you the same forward, more you tend to believe it. So I think this is one of the things that explains why we didn't see this set of lynchings prior to even 2016, and which is why I come back to the point that it is very necessary to understand the root cause of certain things, because unless the government, it is the job of the government to understand these things, preempt these things. They are not supposed to act only after something has happened. They are supposed to anticipate such issues and act on it. So this 22% of the population is, we have to figure out a solution where we make sure that, this section of the population are reached out and they are told, via various programs as to what the issue is. But other than the WhatsApp lynchings, we have also seen, this particular set of rumors, we have also seen how misinformation has been used, has been weaponized, so to say, especially during communal situations. For example, in Boshirhat, when a riot happened in Boshirhat, image was circulated, and we'll see that image shortly. An image was circulated, and it was claimed that a Hindu woman, Boshirhat being a Muslim majority area, that a Hindu woman, and in that case, it was a minority community who were the aggressors. A Hindu woman is being molested. That actually was a clip from a Bhojpuri movie called Aurat Khilona Nahi. So these kind of tactics have been used again and again. And lately, at least in alt news, based on the stories that we're doing, what we are seeing is that in the past about 6-7 months, there has been a concerted effort to paint the minority communities in a way that these are morally bankrupt, they are criminals, because every time there's a crime happens, for example, recently, so I'm sure a lot of people would have seen this image, right? How many have seen this image? Yeah. So, of course, one of the things, it is generally well understood that if you have a specific bias, if you have a political bias, if you have a religious bias, then it is very easy to push information and make you believe in it. So this was circulated before Gujarat elections, and just putting a motley of pictures together, you can sort of create a perception, and the perception here being that Mr. Nehru is again a morally bankrupt person. But as it happens, Alt News was the first to debunk this particular one. The one on the top left is Mr. Nehru with his sister, one on the top right is Mr. Nehru with his sister, the one in the middle is Mr. Nehru with Mrinalini Sarabhai, the one on bottom right is Mr. Nehru with his niece Nayanthara Sehgal. So essentially you can put, sort of misleading people is fairly easy. It is not a difficult thing, and you can just put certain pictures together and you can sort of create a perception where there is none. I'll just run through these real quick. So, of course, another way of doing it is plain photoshopping. So this is an image that Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav had tweeted. And he tried to show that, he had a ground full of people. What had actually happened, that just the way you do hair transplanting, they had done crowd transplanting. They had picked up crowd, and they're transplanted all over the place. And again, this is a very popular image where it gets circulated again and again. The one on the left is the fake one. The one on the right is the real one. Let's go. And of course, it comes from both sides. I do believe that misinformation that originates from right-wing parties is more, and we have seen that in terms of in election after election, we have seen that. But even from the left-wing party, even from not left, but non-right-wing parties, we are seeing an increased amount of misinformation. For example, during Gujarat elections, what we saw that a letter was circulated with the BJP president's signature, stating that BJP has given up the fight and they are going to lose, and these are the internal numbers that they are circulating amongst themselves. The very next day, there was another letter which was circulated, which with the Congress presidents, Gujarat Congress president signed, with the exact same numbers but flipped around, saying that Congress has conceded defeat and that they are going to lose. And so at least in the last two elections, in the Gujarat and Karnataka elections, we have seen misinformation from both sides. And it seems like instead of countering what is happening, other parties also getting into the game of creating a narrative using misinformation. So so this was the Boshirhat image, and this person was eventually arrested. So, and this was pretty viral, this particular image, but and it was claimed that there was a Hindu woman being molested in Boshirhat, but it was actually the scene from a movie clip called Aurat Khilona Nahi. So this is what I was trying to talk about, that at least as far as we see a lot of misinformation, but the latest trend that we at Alt News are seeing is a systematic targeting of minorities. So, for example, this is the most recent there was a rape case in Mandsaur where a child was allegedly raped, and both the communities, the Hindu community and the Muslim community, both of them came out in support of the victim and demanded the harshest punishment for the accused. But what happened was that the next day I wake up and I see this website called indiaflare.com. When I woke up, an article on this website had already been shared over 16,000 times, and I'll explain briefly what 16,000 times sharing entails, because it is not an absolute number. What happens is that when something starts getting shared, somebody will make a meme out of it. So the content will be transferred to a meme. Somebody will start speaking on the phone saying that देखो ये मुस्लिम समाज के लोग जो accused है उसके लिए उन्होंने मार्च निकाला. So once any content gets popular on social media, it doesn't remain as the original content. It gets transformed into a variety of contents, from memes to infographics and so on and so forth. So more the number of shares, and that is the way we anticipate as to what story we should do. Over time, we know that if it is so many number of shares, it has already been propagated in multiple ways. So in this specific case, they were actually saying कि नहीं चलेगा बेटी पर वार, and so it's getting cropped, but something to that effect, नहीं चलेगा बेटी पर वार, and that was photoshopped to say इरफान को रिहा करो. And this became extremely viral on social media. So this is just a few days back. Can you go to the next slide? Now this we busted just about 2 days ago, where it was claimed that according to NCRB statistics, in this case, NCRB is not mentioned, but most of the variants of this message were referring to NCRB statistics and claiming that according to NCRB statistics, 96% of the rapes that happen, or 95% of the rapes that happen in the past 2 years are by members of the Muslim community. Now, it is known that NCRB does not publish crime statistics based on religion. But for a challenge for fact-checking websites like us is also getting information, even though we know, but unless we get this from an authoritative source, people are not going to believe us. And we kept chasing the NCRB ADG for at least 2-3 days, saying that, boss, this is extremely viral on social media. Can you please give us a statement so that we can publish our article? But it took that long for us to get a statement, and by that time the thing was already viral all over social media, even before we can bust it. So that is one challenge that we constantly face, is that getting a response from the authorities. So we finally busted this, and obviously it is fake. This person, Mahesh Vikram Hegde, he was recently arrested. He's the founder of a website called postcard.news. He was recently arrested for, again, another story that Alt News had done, where a Jain monk, they claimed that a Jain monk was attacked by somebody from a Muslim community, from a member of the Muslim community. Well, that was not the case. It was just an inebriated man, going and hitting this Jain monk. And for that, he was arrested. And now, after this story that we have done, this person has deleted his Twitter account, and he's claiming that his account was hacked. So can we go to the next one? This one was, again, a very, very recent photoshopped image, where it was claimed that this madrasa, I forget which state this madrasa is in, but it was basically Hinduism is being pitted against Islam, and so Janeu, etc., various aspects of Hinduism, they put across, essentially trying to pit one religion against another and trying to portray that Islam is somehow superior to Hinduism. That is the photoshopped image. That is the perception that is being sought to be created, that this is what is being taught in madrasas. The actual case was that this is one of the only few madrasas which teaches Sanskrit, and the writings on the board were actually Sanskrit shlokas. And that was photoshopped to do this. Can you go to the next slide? This happened during Karnataka elections, where, or right after Karnataka elections actually. And basically on the mantle of the church, this was, the Lingayats were declared as minorities in Karnataka. At least the government put out a statement that they want to declare them as minorities. After that, this image was circulated, and on the mantle of the church, it is written, the Lingayat Catholic Church. Okay, so one of the things that we often use to fact check these images is something called Google reverse image search, and I believe that it should be a responsibility for everybody to understand how to do these simple searches. Fact checking websites like us can only do so much. We are, for example, we are a non-for-profit website. We are running purely on donations. We are a team of about 5, 6 now, and most of us are, my colleagues, most of them are either freshers or juniors. So it takes time to sort of, come up to speed. But I think the state of misinformation industry is to a point that it is imperative for as many people to learn how to fact check and fact check themselves. So in this case, what we did was use something called Google reverse image search. You essentially go to Google, images.google, and put this image. There's a camera icon. You click on it, you upload the image, and you try and see what could be the possible origins of it. There's a date filter. It's difficult to sort of explain here unless I visually show it, but there's a date filter which you have to set it, and then finally you come across the origins of the image. So what was done was that this image, this is a church in Maharashtra, this was photoshopped to say that this is a Lingayat Catholic church. And again, this was circulated again and again and again. Now, these are just some of the examples. Okay, again, this is being clipped, but okay, so here this was during the Ram Rahim, whatever that Baba's name was, that episode. And a school bus was attacked in Gurgaon, and it was claimed that those who are responsible for the attack, the first name is getting clipped, but are Amir, Nadeem, Firoz, and Ashraf, and there was a fifth name, which was also a Muslim name. We called the Gurgaon police commissioner, and he laughed and he said, no, that is not the case. But this person is also followed by the Prime Minister. The previous person, Mahesh Vikram Hegde, is also followed by the Prime Minister. So this is the kind of information which is put out increasingly, and we do believe that there is a conscious attempt to create this fear psychosis that that Hindus are increasingly being victimized, and most of the crime is originating from the minority communities. Unfortunately, we look for solutions, and of course we came up with alt news, and what we did was that we decided that we'll have a permissive license, that all of our content is available for free. It's called the Creative Commons license with attribution. Anybody can take our content. All they have to say is that this article was originally published in alt news. That is all they have to say. That was decided because we were hoping that we knew that we can't reach out to different sections of the population. Let's say the child kidnapping rumors. In that case, these rumors were translated into every language. So in Maharashtra, it was in Marathi. In Gujarat, it was in Gujarati. And not just that, I don't know which sicko would do that, but the names of the places were changed. So in Maharashtra, they'll say that that this place in Maharashtra, these people are going to come and kidnap your children. In Gujarat, the place would change to a different name. So every instance of this rumor which is being put out in different countries, different states, is being localized according to the state, not just being translated, but the city names, the state, everything is being changed. So it is being done in an organized fashion. And while what we saw earlier, the targeting of minorities, we know that there's a political motive behind this, but till date, I have not been able to figure out the motive, not the political motive, the motive behind who would do such a thing. Coming back to my point, what we were hoping was that, that if we put out our content for free, mainstream media would pick up the content and republish it in different languages. We knew that we could not have reached out to that section, to multiple sections of the population, and hopefully, that would have been useful. But unfortunately, what we have seen is mainstream media, instead of being part of the solution, has become part of the problem, largely. So, can we go to the next slide? Yeah, so this is a slightly old example, but a funny one, where when Mr. Kovind became the president, at least 12 media organizations put out tweets on there, and these are all mainstream major media organizations. They put out tweets claiming that Mr. Kovind got so many followers in one day, Z News claiming within minutes, and Republic claiming in an hour. And there were other variants of it in 3 hours, 4 hours. Everybody just randomly picked up a time slot and said, this is how many followers Mr. Kovind got in such a period of time. The fact of the matter was that Mr. Mukherjee, the outgoing president, already had those many followers. It was just being taken from one president to another president. This was a regular procedure. Now, why I want to highlight this is that how can organizations with so much manpower make such mistakes? I'm sure somebody may be able to answer this question in the crowd, but how can organizations with so much manpower and the journalistic training, I'm from an engineering background, but a journalistic training which probably has a certain procedure already decided that these are things you have to do before you put out information, how can they make such a mistake? So that, constantly I wonder about that. But it is not limited to just these innocuous mistakes. Can we go to the next slide? So this was a tweet that was put out by India Today. And it got retweeted over 3,500 times. A boy called Paresh Mehta, his body was fished out. There were riots in Dakshin Karnataka, and his body was fished out of a lake. And it was claimed that the BJP MLA, the local BJP MP or MLA, claimed that this person was boiled. Boiling oil was poured on his face, he was castrated, head cut open, flung into a lake. Will 21-year-old Paresh Mehta's murder shake India? I mean, the first part, the allegations were made in a BJP press release by a BJP MP MLA. Without any corroboration, without any cross-checking, the same allegations were put in a tweet and sent out by India Today. And can we have the next slide? And they did an entire show on this, with visuals like this. The fact of the matter was not a single allegation there was true. Each one of them was false, and that is what, so I think Manipal University did a postmortem report on this particular case, and they found out that each one of these allegations is false. Nothing like that happened. So now this is happening during riots when there's already a tense situation, and media, instead of reducing, playing a positive role, this is the kind of divisive role that, and not just one media, I'm not particularly targeting any particular media organization, but we have seen increasingly that, media organizations play this divisive role instead of actually, doing the other way around. So I'll briefly go through what we do essentially to check fake news. So one is very often we have contacted police. Surprisingly, most police departments across the country have been quite helpful in getting us the information and telling us. I think they already have a huge workload and they don't want to deal with more workload. So they are usually pretty prompt in telling us that this is the case, this is not the case. So generally people haven't had a good experience with police departments, but we have surprisingly had a generally good experience. Yeah, and so they're on Twitter and they often respond. We also do a lot of data checking. And very often data checking is very, very easy. For example, if somebody claims, let's say Mr. Modi claimed that they started direct benefit transfer, which is a claim he had made in a rally recently. So what you have to do, so one thing you need to know is what are the sources of information, which websites do you look, do you need to find that information. For example, in this case, any government release will be then pib.nic.in. So then I think one thing that we have become good at is finding the information real fast, not just finding it, but finding it real fast. And you need to know tools and a little bit of tricks for it. So for example, there's the site colon. If you look at on the screen, you'll see site colon. So that essentially helps you search within a website. Now there are multiple such operators which can help you. So when you Google, you need to learn this operator so that you don't just go out and blindly type a few keywords. There are ways and means of reaching information and reaching it very fast. So in this case, what we have used is the site colon operator to search within pib.nic.in, and then we have used a a time filter. Google has a time filter to see whether there is any press release before May 26, 2014, which is when Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister. And we found that there are multiple references to direct benefit transfer even in 2013. So it could not be possible that DBT started in 2014. So that is one of the things that we have picked up, and these are things which are very easy to learn. This is not rocket science. I mean, just putting a filter, etc., anybody can do. And this is something that I keep stressing on, that it is imperative for more and more people to learn these kind of simple tricks, tips and tricks, so that they can find information, they can fact check themselves at individual levels. Even if media organizations may not be doing it, but every citizen can at least learn basic tips and tricks, and that takes care of at least 50 to 60% of the rumors that are afloat on social media. So as I was saying, reverse image search is one thing that we always use, and this is something that people need to learn of how to find out the origins of an image. Yeah, so this is how you do reverse image search. You basically go to images.google.com, click on that camera icon, upload an image, and then you again use a time filter to see where image originated from. So there's this image which is very popular as Indian Army at Siachen Glacier, but it was actually a picture from Ukraine. So. And of course, we talked to a lot of subject matter experts. For example, Times Now had run a show where it was a larger show, and a section of that showed a cow being rolled on a plank. And they claimed that this is atrocity during cow slaughter. So we reached out to a veterinary doctor, and he told us that this is a regular veterinary procedure called uterine torsion, where in cattle, just before they deliver, often the uterus gets displaced, and to set it right, this is the procedure that is typically used to roll the cow on a plank. The video is quite horrific actually, but that is what you do. But Times Now put that out as animal cruelty. So we often reach out to subject matter experts. We also have a science section on Alt News, which is run by a neuroscientist who's based originally from Gandhinagar, but she's based in Sweden right now. So for example, when the Nipah virus was recently broke out, it was claimed that Gelsemium 200, which is a homeopathic drug, you have that, and that is going to protect you from Nipah virus. And obviously, again, there's a fear factor involved. Everybody started tweeting about it, have Gelsemium 200. I don't know how many people went to the drugstore and got Gelsemium 200, but of course, it cannot protect you. So we also do a lot of scientific fact checking, and Dr. Sumaya Sheikh, she goes into details. I mean, we don't do typical scientific reporting. We actually show scientific evidence as to why this is true and why this is not true. And the latest fad, actually it's not the latest fad, but what is generally happening is take a picture, anybody's picture, Akshay Kumar, Shah Rukh Khan, anybody's picture, put some text next to it and say that this is what this person has said. And that is what is the most common way of defaming, and I think Ravish Kumar faces that a lot. His pictures are taken and text is put that he is in support of this accused in this rape case or this accused in this rape case. I mean, there's nobody who's more targeted than Ravish Kumar at this point in time. So essentially then of course we reach out to the people and find out whether they said something or not, and we put out the articles. So as far as challenges are concerned, as I stated earlier, at least in the case of child kidnapping rumors, there has been no proactive actions from the government. But not only that, members of different political parties often actually promote fake news. For example, many members of BJP, the ruling party, they often tweet from postcard.news. And not just MPs, MLAs, even official handlers of the ministries have tweeted out of postcard.news. That is the extent to which there is support for misinformation. They are not only endorsing it, they are actually promoting it. Yeah, so I'm done. I think this was the last slide essentially. So yeah, thank you.
A lie, falsehood, gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on. That's what Vincent Chakri said. Now this would give an impression that truth is a weak element, vis-a-vis fake news or so-called falsehoods. And here I again say, Mark Twain said, truth is stranger than fiction, stranger. But B.S. Naipaul said, no, truth is stronger than fiction. So truth ultimately has a verb, has a vitality, it has to operate. And that's what Satyavama Jayate said. But the way it is ordered in India, with fake news leading to lynchings and all that, is very regrettable, and we come out very badly in the world's perception. What's your take on it?
So I think at least scientific data proves Winston Churchill correct, because what has been seen, there was a research paper published by Science Mag, where what they did was, this was limited to Twitter, where they went and figured out, misinformation. What they did was they took 6 major fact-checking websites in the US, and they collected all the data, I think over 3 years or something like that. They looked at the misinformation and they looked at the fact-check articles, and how much was the misinformation shared and how much were the fact-check articles shared. And that quote is right on the money, in the sense that the misinformation was shared many, many more times than the fact-check article. So at least that is the issue right now, but I think more research needs to be done, more scientific research needs to be done. We actually, the Alternate Science Editor, Dr. Sumaya Sheikh, we are also trying to plan some sort of behavioral analysis. So we have this captive audience. For example, I was saying that, when Nipah virus epidemic broke out, a lot of people said use Gelsemium 200, and we wrote an article, and we were the top ranking news article in Google for this particular issue, and we got a lot of traffic who are just looking for Gelsemium 200. Now, these are the people who are coming to our website purely because they have been affected by this rumor, and this is not limited to this rumor. This is what happens again and again. So we have a sort of audience which can be researched upon, given surveys, a variety of ways to figure out what could be the best possible way to put information that may be more effective. I think at this point in time, yes, at least in the US scenario, it is very old. There are websites like Snopes.com, fact-checking websites, which are 12, 13 years old. But in the Indian scenario, this is a new phenomenon, and just by conceding that that falsity spreads faster, I don't think we should stop at that. I think we need to do further scientific research and figure out what should be the mechanism to put out information so that it becomes more believable. And of course, at this point in time, we are putting information out only in English. It needs to go out in regional languages. All those are obviously the case, but still, if there is a specific way in which information can be put out to make it more believable.
You had said in your presentation that you will tell us the meaning of 16,000 shares, for example.
Yeah, so 16,000 shares, so the way we pick up stories is that we look at how much an information shared, and I think I did mention briefly that, when, and this is just by gut feeling, when I see 16,000 shares, I know that content has been transformed into multiple other media. So somebody has created a video on it, somebody has converted it into a meme, and not just one meme, multiple memes, and those things have found their own legs to go across. So that is one thing that we determine. So let's say if the shares were just 100, we may not even do a story, because it has a reverse effect, that if something is not already viral, if we deem it is not already viral, if we put out the story, then we might have a reverse effect that people can start circulating that when it is not viral. So we also have to take that judgment as to whether we should do a story or not.
We found the caller mic, so we'll give this to the audience.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So, Pratik, on July 3rd, you shared application you had sent to some government.
Keep it closer.
Yeah, on July 3rd, you shared an application you sent to some government that said, All News is part of Pravda Media Foundation. Now, are you aware that Pravda, why is it called Pravda? And that Pravda was the official media organization, Soviet.
It was a Soviet communist newspaper, yeah.
Yes,
so it was.
Are you declaring that you're politically aligned to the left? In which case, what is your status as an independent fact checker? Number one. Number two, what is your relationship organizationally or fiscally with a person called Richard Matthews, if any? who has many friends here, or ideologically who has many friends here, but who all said and done is an American leftist and therefore should be looked at with as much skepticism as an American capitalist.
Yeah, so no, really, I met him for the first time in Hyderabad, in fact, when the Lama Khan thing happened. And he had certain proposals as how something could be done, but we were never on the same page. And to answer the first question, Pravda, so that was a name suggested by a friend. Yes, I know what it stands for, but and ideologically I am from the left, but that doesn't mean that I'm associated with any political party or whatsoever. I'm not associated with any leftist political party, but this was, we tried various form of alt news. We were trying to look for a company name, and we tried various forms of alt news.
Ended up with the Soviet
Somebody suggested, and we put it out. Yeah.
Name is not a social.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a friend suggested, and we used it, and we got it because it was taking forever. So the way you have to deal with MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, you give set of 5 names. And he would know probably better. You have to give a set of 5 names. If they don't match, they'll ask you for it, and each time it takes about 15 days to do this whole procedure. So then we just use something which we knew would not be there. So that's how Pravda Media Foundation.
Russian means the truth.
Yeah, in Russian it means the truth, but it is also the fact that it was a state newspaper.
Loud. You keep this.
Hi.
Loud.
Pratik, since you're a programmer and engineering background, I was wondering if you had any thoughts on creating a software platform which could perhaps have a group which was using it. Perhaps, I'm saying that there's only so much that a human can do. It's a manual process, whatever you're doing right now. So, have you considered anything like that? So, if, for example, if
I'm very sorry, one
Yeah.
second. So, I'm very sorry. So, you do confirm you're from the left?
You don't
all of this is manual work right now. So, if a software platform were to be developed wherein a verified number of codes or something like that, which would enhance the value or an article's authenticity per se. Have you considered anything like that, or is anybody else doing that, something like that in the world?
So we're considering right now from a technological standpoint. So as you rightly pointed out, most of the information we are manually fact checking. Now what happens is that we get multiple emails. For example, if a video is viral on a certain day, we have an email address called contact@altnews.in. So we get multiple emails stating that is this true, and often they are repetitions. That is also an indicator we use to figure out what is more viral, what is less viral, depending on how many emails we get at contact@altnews.in. But what we are planning essentially is that we are going to create a database. So we are going to fingerprint, at least as far as images and videos are concerned, we are going to fingerprint either the images or individual frames of the videos and store it in a database, and then we are going to have a mobile app. So essentially this mobile app, you can upload your image or a video. Let's say on a certain day something is viral and we have already fact checked it. You can upload an image or a video, and this will do a search against the database that we have, and it will automatically respond that this is the story. So then we essentially automate a lot of fact checking. We don't have to tell every single person go to this URL, go to this URL. It will, you put an image or a video, we will fingerprint it, we'll figure out whether we have already fact checked. If you have not, then we'll put it in our database and we figure out the virality. Another thing that we are planning to do as part of this mobile application is also capture the geocode, capture the latitude, longitude from where a particular rumor is being reported. So especially in case of, let's say, these hyper-local rumors like the child kidnapping, etc., that will enable us to find out if there is a hyper-local element to it, that if whether it is localized to a certain area, and if we deem that it could lead to probably violence, then we can also intimate the local police station and things like that. So a lot can be done, and so we are in the design phase, and if there are software engineers here who want to contribute, please contact us, because we are looking for all sorts of help, at least from the technological standpoint.
We are talking about how people respond to fake news. But what is the kind of responsibility or accountability you expect from the platform, Facebook and WhatsApp? Just to add to that briefly, Facebook apparently has been identified as one of the major players in the Rohingya genocide. side in Myanmar. UN report states that. And they have also been doing thought experiments in both the media. And it is quite widely written about also. And they have an agreement, unknown parameters with the Election Commission of India. They are sitting at the heart of the election process in India. They also own WhatsApp. And what is the kind of accountability, what is the kind of thing as citizens we can expect from these corporations? One thing about how people respond to what they're putting out or what they're unable to control. And what another thing, ask what is the doing the system.
So I'll start with WhatsApp because that is the main platform that is being used to circulate rumors. Just yesterday I had a call with some folks from WhatsApp US, the lead policy, etc. And at this point of time, I think one feature that they are going to introduce very shortly is that, let's say if somebody forwards a message to another person, then it will come with a forwarded tag that this is not an original message, this is a forwarded message. I think that is a good first step. But other than that, WhatsApp being an end-to-end encrypted system, which means that WhatsApp as a company cannot see the data that is flowing on WhatsApp. And not just that, let's say if a person A sends a message to person B and person B sends the identical message to person C, the encryption keys between A and B and C are different. So not only they can't see, but they can't even track. If the encryption keys were similar, then you know that if ABC gets encrypted as XYZ, then it will be XYZ from A to B and XYZ from B to C. But here what is happening is that ABC gets encrypted to XYZ in one case and DEF in another case. So there's no way to track information because the information actually keeps changing. So and we want that kind of privacy. We want that kind of privacy. I know I make a lot of calls over WhatsApp, but it also poses the challenge as to how do we deal with this. And my take on that is that technological advancements are going to happen. You won't be able to stop it unless you want a state like China where everything is behind a firewall and everything is controlled by the state. We don't want to go that way. So the other option is for the society to advance with the technological advancements, and that is the responsibility of the government to ensure that the society advances. Of course, in case of India, that is a huge challenge, but that is the only way. But as far as WhatsApp as a company, they are doing this one thing, but I think they are largely clueless as to how to do anything beyond this. They might come up with certain features which will help fact checkers. That is what they were saying, telling me yesterday, that they will come up with certain features which will help fact checkers. And my suggestion was that they should at least have a component of fact checking built into WhatsApp. Whatever I was telling you, that compare it against a database of already fact checked stories and tell the user, have something inside WhatsApp where you can click on the video and ask, is this true or not? Some form of that, and partner with fact checkers to find out, if a certain video is viral, what was the truth of it. So they could do things like that, but I'm not sure whether they will or they will not. I can't answer that. As far as Facebook is concerned, Facebook and Google have slightly different approaches. What Google has done is they have started something called claim review, which essentially means that, let's say Trump makes a statement and it is published in Washington Post, let's say, and New York Times fact checks it. Okay, so you can include a piece of code on the website which says that we are fact checking this particular claim on this particular URL. So when you search for something and the Trump article comes up, next to that, ranking wise, so they'll change the ranking and make sure that the New York Times article comes right next to the Washington Post article, so that the audience gets both sides of the information. So what these platforms are saying, that we don't want to act as editors. We are the medium, so we don't want to act as editors, but at the same time we are going to try and make sure that the bubble which presently exists, let's say, if you the algorithm for the longest time, that the way it has worked is that it recognizes what you like and give more of what you like. So let's say if you belong to one side of the political spectrum, you will get more and more of that information. So essentially then you are living constantly in a bubble. So what Facebook, I think on their part, what they're trying to do is, let's say if you read an article from Swarajya, then they'll give you another option from other websites. If you read an article from NDTV, they'll give you another option. So trying to break that bubble and give the audience more and more options, more and more sources of information, so that they can possibly have a more well-rounded opinion about an issue and not just a myopic opinion. So that is what Facebook and Google are doing.
Pratik, as citizens, we would like to know what you foresee coming between now and the elections, 1. 2, how do you think citizens should deal with social media and with what they receive? What would be an appropriate way of handling these things?
So at least from the point of view of 2019 elections, we are already seeing the trend. So after Karnataka elections, there was a spike of misinformation in the Karnataka elections, and we thought that it would subside. It hasn't. So we definitely think that misinformation or fake news, however you want to call it, is going to be a mainstay in the next 12 months, and there's going to be a lot of it. How to deal with it? That's sort of a tricky question to answer. My answer, I don't know if it's a good answer, is that a lot of this, as I said, tries to play on your emotions. A lot of the content is designed to make you angry. Ki Hindu ne Muslim ko mara, Muslim ne Hindu ko mara. For example, there was this one video which was viral for 1.5 years, and this video said that एक मारवाड़ी औरत आंध्र प्रदेश से जिसने एक मुस्लिम इंसान के साथ शादी की, दिस इज अप्रॉक्सीमेटली द मैसेज, बुरखा ना पहनने के लिए उसको मारा, जला दिया गया, दिल दहलाने वाली वीडियो, इसको इतना शेयर कीजिए कि ये मोदी जी तक पहुंच जाए. दिस वाज द मैसेज. That video and the video that was shared along with it is the most grotesque video you will ever see. It's about a 4.5-minute video where a young woman is first beaten up, and then there's some kerosene or petrol poured on her, and she's burnt, and it goes to the point that she dies of a burn. So this is a 4.5-minute video. This video is actually from Guatemala. It is not from India. And even though it was clearly evident that, for example, the claim is ki burkha nahi pehna. Now, there were a lot of women in that crowd who were not only not wearing burqa, but they're dressed in a South American fashion. The language that was spoken was clearly not an Indian language, but the way the initial text, the blurb that comes along with it, once you are done reading that, you are at an emotional state that you are not thinking, while you're watching that particular video. So that is the aim. That is the aim, that bring you to an emotional state, and there are people who have become specialized in this. Bring you to an emotional state where anything that comes beyond your logic is not going to work. So recognize that, and if there is something which is inflammatory content, do not share it. That is all I can say. I mean, I think that probably everybody, I don't have to say that in this room, but yeah, that is what we can do.
First of all, welcome to Hyderabad, Pratik Sinha, and I really believe that the kind of pioneering work, it's bringing a lot of leadership, and I really believe this kind of work deserves a lot of appreciation and applause. I would say the kind of work. Secondly, I just want to put across a thing that there are just 3 steps of stopping a lot of things in this. Number 1 is the prosecution of someone doing that kind of cybercrime. Number 2 is the conviction, and number 3 is the publication of that kind of work in public sphere, showing that if you do something of this sort, you will be prosecuted and convicted. So these are 3-step process. So this could have been done from a long time. So what is being stopping? I have been following your website about the Shanknath, postcard, and a lot of other mediums too. So on this 3 process, what is why is the state lagging behind, and it's not giving a great example showing that if you get out of the track, you will be punished severely. What is stopping in these 3 steps?
Firstly, I'm not in agreement with what you're saying, that law is the way to go forward. I'm not in agreement with that, purely because most of the rumors that circulate over WhatsApp, now in case of law, when a video goes viral, there are a lakh people sharing it. There are videos. For example, there was a video which claimed after the Champions Trophy match where India lost to Pakistan, there was a video which claimed that Indian Muslims are celebrating Pakistan's win. That probably had a lakh shares, or more than that. Now, are you going to put all of them in the jail? No, right? So then the only way is to, no, you cannot. I mean, and the thing is that, for example, these child kidnapping rumors. Now, if somebody is forwarding out of in a state of fear, are you going to punish that person? That is the question that you want to ask. And so in that case, then you figure out who's the disseminator, that is who's originally created the content, and who's the propagator. And unfortunately, in the field, in WhatsApp, it is impossible to figure out who's the disseminator, who's the propagator. So who are you going to punish? So that is the first challenge that the legal authorities will face as to who to prosecute. What will happen is that if you keep pushing for a law, they'll pick up any random person who has pushed out a WhatsApp forward, and just to make a point that, look, we are doing something, they'll put that person in the jail, and the original person who probably has disseminated and will keep disseminating will never be accounted for. Having said that, this is limited to WhatsApp, but when we know who the disseminator is, for example, postcard.news or websites like that, and I think there are plenty of laws already under IPC. I mean, when Mahesh Vikram Hegde was arrested, he was arrested under an existing IPC law. It was not a new law that they came up with. So I think there are already provisions for arresting people where you know who's the disseminator. But I think it is more a political issue and an issue of political will, whether they want to control it or not. When Mahesh Vikram Hegde was arrested, a union minister came out in support of this person. And this was the same person who now claims that his account was hacked when he claimed that 95% of the rape cases were done by members of the Muslim community. So there's obviously a lack of political will because, and that is why I said that in 2019 and the trend that we are seeing currently is this misinformation is going to increase. And I don't think there's going to be much done about it because there's a clear lack of political will.
So basically, there's a lot of fake news spread around global warming doesn't exist, that kind of like scientific reporting as well. So the scientific community have come up with something called the inoculation theory. I don't know, the first question is, have you heard of it? Because what it's trying to do is it's trying to take the behavioral aspect like you spoke of and use that to make a curriculum for school kids so that, it attacks dealing with fake news or misinformation, actually not just fake news, misinformation of any sort, in two levels. It's trying to, it's basically coming from the angle of introducing a pathogen in your body, and then your body only creates immunization against it, right? So using that kind of thinking for misinformation. So number one, that, and if you've heard of inoculation theory, do you think one can use that behavior to make behavioral change for something that is not scientific? That's basically my question.
So I think this was published in 2017. I think there was a BBC article where they said how a vaccine, creation of some sort of a vaccine where you feed fake news. Now, I don't think I'm the subject matter expert to speak on this. That is not my field, so I have no clue whether that will work or not. Yeah, sorry.
Pratik,
yeah.
This gentleman here. Loudly, stand up and speak loudly.
So, sir, a person I know received forward saying that pharma companies lobby governments around the world to stop the growth of Ayurveda or something like that. And then several forwards circulate around saying that Gayatri mantra has a lot of medicinal values because of the sound it produces and stuff like that. So, owing to this, she stopped taking her medicine for diabetes. So, how do we make an attempt to debug such myths when any attempt is considered as an attack on their belief system?
So it is, I know a person, somebody whom I know in personal life. This person was suffering from lung cancer, and some genius decided that cow urine therapy should be done. And for the last 14 days of this person's life, this person was given only cow urine and nothing else. So basically, this person starved to death while this person was suffering from cancer. So it is not an isolated case. These are very, very complicated questions. So debunking can be done. See, the issue is not debunking. It is easy to say that that this is false, but that information, they need to hear that from an authoritative source. Now, if, for example, recently there was an article in I think Times of India, which proudly said that cow urine will cure cancer. Okay. Now, if you go into the details, what they did was they killed a few cells. they did not specify what cells, but a few cells. So essentially in cancer, what happens is that certain cells grow faster and certain cells grow slower, and you target the faster growing cells, and which is why you lose your hair, you lose your intestinal lining, and so on and so forth. So in this case, they claim that cow urine was successful in killing the fast growing cells. But this was not done on a mice. This was done on certain cells in a petri dish. This was passed off in Times of India as the next cure for cancer. So that is the level of irresponsible misreporting that goes on, especially scientific reporting. It was done on a petri dish. This was not an experiment conducted on mice. It was definitely not on an animal or a human. So when that kind of information comes out and gets circulated, then people believe in it, because at least from the scientific point of view, not many will have the wherewithal to read between the lines and figure out what is true and what is not. So till that kind of information keeps getting circulated, then I don't know what the solution is. It has to come from a position. Instead, if Times of India had done an article disproving what this was, then that could have made an effect. But what is happening is exactly to the other way around. People who, mainstream media is a trusted source. When they come out with articles like that, people will keep believing, and then we have an entire ministry which does just that. So, where is the solution?
This gentleman.
Yeah. My question is, I don't know if you have this on your site, but my question is, instead of going only to a site, there will be alt news, there will be some other news and all. Does your page or site have some sort of an SOP, a simple SOP, which allows people to do something which is a next level of a basic search to establish the authenticity and veracity of certain articles? With this, people will be aware of doing their own searches and not really look for a source, and perhaps actually contribute with the origin of the source into your particular platform.
No, we don't have that yet. We don't have that yet, but that is something that, that the app idea that I was talking about is part of that. That is, you instead of doing a search, a text search, you're essentially giving the artifact, whether it's an image or a video, and using that you search our database and find out what is the truth, or if it is not, then we put it in our database and we get back to them with a fact check article and things like that. So that is in planning, but not a text search, but you actually, you get something on WhatsApp and you upload it to an app and we search it against our database. So that is what we are trying to design.
It's true. I was one of the actually, the WhatsApp was my brain, number part. I was the actually, I have to say this with the authentication. That was the real real great news for the city.
Anyone else, or shall? Okay, here, Avni. You can speak loud.
I'll speak. I am Premjish. I am teaching at Shivnada University in Delhi. And thanks a lot, Pratik, for this wonderful lecture. I was very curious about one particular fact which you displayed, which is the exponential rise in the digital consumption in the rural area, which you have shown. I think 22% or something. Does it mean that academically or whatever we are using this framework of digital divide, that we do away with digital divide, this 22% information, or this rise in consumption of digital information, is it leading to alleviate or remove the digital divide? Is it empowering them? What is happening?
So empowerment can be in a variety of formats. For example, there are e-governance apps and things like that. I don't know what is the usage. I don't have the data for it. So, internet reaching to more and more section of the population, we do want that. And we do want them to have access to tools of governance which they may not have otherwise. For example, in Gujarat, there's a RTI, I know of an RTI organization which has a van and which goes all around Gujarat, and they help people file RTIs for simple things, and then some printouts, all using e-governance apps, they help them. And what they have done is that in Kutch, and this is small, this is not the main Kutch, there's a place called Small Run of Kutch, which is essentially a salt desert. And they have erected a huge antenna, and this van has another antenna. So they have this wireless internet thing, and they go from villages to villages and help people in finding information that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to. So reaching internet that way. And so that last mile access has helped enormously. But that is not enough when you're giving a service like an internet to somebody. And as I said, especially in rural India, there's a very limited view to the world of internet. It's just that WhatsApp inbox. Then you also have to tell them, unfortunately, internet doesn't come with a handbook. So we need to create that handbook and hand it out to a lot of people, saying that this is the issues, beware and don't fall for these rumors. So we don't want to not, the internet should reach out as many people as as far as possible, but we should also disseminate information and awareness along with it.
2 days back, Mr. Amit Shah told his cyber warriors army to reach out to every corner of the country. What exactly was meant by this?
I don't want to comment on that.
One question that I wanted to ask you, said law is not the way forward. Now, while I agree in cases of rumors, like if a person chooses to consume cow urine to treat cancer, that's understandable. Law shouldn't intervene if the freak or treats. But things which lead to lynching, where the established media propagates fake news and doesn't correct it, I think there's a responsibility. The law has to intervene and say this cannot happen. The difficulty is when there is complicity. The police, the media, and the bureaucracy, if there's a complicity, then we have to stop it. Law is one of the ways forward. It's not the only one. But to say that
no, if you can recognize the disseminator, then probably law can come into picture. But in most cases, it is impossible to recognize who's the originator of a certain message. In case of child kidnapping rumors, these are rural people who are sharing it again and again. Just because if somebody doesn't know traffic rules and he violates a traffic rule, so who do we hold accountable? That is the question. Do we hold accountable people who are not aware of what they're doing?
My point, Pratik, was rumor has a very long history in this country. Rumor is not new. But the idea that you can act on the basis of a certain rumor with impunity, that is the
no, but that if people act on it, then the regular IPC, if somebody is killed, then all these people have already been charged under whatever relevant sections. I'm not opposed to that. I'm just opposed to law as a solution. I don't see law as a solution to stop rumor mongering. If it is being shared thousands and thousands of times, no law can stop that. Only an awareness program can stop that. That is my opinion.
And if a law is introduced, it will be used to curb
Exactly,
freedom of speech
exactly.
and not punish the guilty.
Exactly.
That is how our systems work.
A little bit of methodical police search can find the actual source of the disseminator.
It's very difficult. At least in WhatsApp, it is very difficult. It's extremely difficult.
Keep going back to the source 5, 10, 11, you will find it.
It is very difficult.
If somebody wants to do, it can be done.
Well, I'm not an expert at criminology, but at least from what we have seen, the number of hoops that misinformation goes through. Now, the same misinformation is being translated to a variety of languages, change. Now, who was the originator? It is, I don't see logically how we can reach to the one who started this entire thing.
Police work in just a few cases in a very long way.
The incident was
What else you can ask you is
the Shagos biryani.
One minute.
That's a genuine story. I'll just add to that. So Shagos biryani is actually dog biryani and all that. There's a big famous one.
Yeah, I remember that.
So later, I saw a video clip by some local channel, it looked like, which said which the police wrote to WhatsApp and found out who was the person who actually started it. And there's one person on camera who was saying that, yeah, my friends were asking me for a party and I didn't have the money to give them. So somebody forwarded me dog biryani photo and I wrote Shagos and added it and sent it. So, I don't know, police actually caught them because I don't think WhatsApp reveals that kind of information.
The information that WhatsApp stores is node. So a node is a phone number in WhatsApp, and another metadata that WhatsApp stores is timestamps. So this message was firstly, for example, when I forward something to you, if you receive it, then it is not stored on the WhatsApp server. And I'm saying this because there's a BJP spokesperson who keeps going to every channel, keeps saying, bring WhatsApp servers to India, bring WhatsApp servers to India. But WhatsApp doesn't store data. What are you going to do? But it only stores messages if it's not delivered to the end recipient. Let's say you're offline. Let's say I'm in a flight. Then it will store that message and it will store it up to 30 days. WhatsApp. The only information that stores permanently is the nodes, that is the phone number, and timestamps associated with the messages. Not the content. not the content, never the content. So I don't know how WhatsApp came back to them and told them that this is the person who started, because they can't read the content. They can't identify if somebody has said something that, you know, whatever, dog biryani, they cannot read dog biryani because it is encrypted. So I'm not sure how that is. It would have been possible. It would have been possible, but now no more.
We'll take last two questions.
Just
Okay,
after
after
I was
Martin.
going to follow up on this Times of India thing. But one thing, now, if it's very to go after, you know, these billion people with a billion texts going around. You have Times of India, which is an institution. If they can publish something like that, can someone like your organization put pressure on them to rescind that article or say something of that sort to hold them
And who is alt news to put pressure on Times of India?
No, why not? You can. I mean, you should be able to at least say.
Times of India published a front page article claiming Najib joined ISIS. You know.
Yeah.
So a while back, when the whole crisis in JNU happened, so one fine day I found my inbox to be flooded with lots of hate messages, and a lot of them were from people in Hyderabad and in Bangalore. So I didn't understand why all of a sudden was I getting all these messages. So then I kind of searched on Facebook, and I realized that all of these people were following this particular Facebook page called Hindu Cyber Warriors. And the Hindu Cyber Warriors actually had a list of, a lot of colleagues in JNU and friends in JNU, and it said like these particular group of people, have certain ideological views and they support things and you should target them. So I wrote to Facebook, I wrote to a lot of people, and guess what? Nothing happened. Those people are still on Facebook, that Hindu Cyber Warrior page is still there, and I got a message from Facebook saying that it does not, this particular page does not violate our community, whatever, what is the
So another similar thing had happened recently where there's this page called Hindu Varta. They published a list of 100 interfaith couples across India, and in that case Facebook took it down because we put out an article. So the thing is that there are people in Facebook, we might think that it is all automated as far as this reporting is concerned, but no, that is not the case. There are people, physical individuals who are looking at information, but I think it's just the quantity of it which I don't think they are equipped to deal with. With so many Facebook users and everybody reporting different kinds of news, I don't think they are equipped to deal with. So there's something which is handled algorithmically, and there's some place where probably the software sort of marks that, okay, this needs a physical intervention, and in that exchange, at some point in time, maybe it was not escalated to somebody who is actually a human, and the software probably determined that this is not against Facebook community standards. So there could be a variety of reasons, but of course Facebook needs to correct that, because we have seen multiple times where the most grotesque content is not taken down, and while seemingly innocuous content is taken down. So
Pratik, thank you very much.